Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Executive Code Podcast. And always, you can listen to this on your podcast channel or you can watch us on YouTube, whatever works for you guys in terms of if you want audio or you want visual. Come join us in YouTube and you'll subscribe there to get all the actual videos itself. And you can share your comments what will be really, really helpful is that if you do subscribe and if you were to write a review on the podcast platform that you use, or write a comments within the actual YouTube itself, give it a like. It'll be really, really helpful because what it's going to do, it's going to help reach more and more people from that perspective. I'm here again with Nicole to answer more of your questions and to delve deeper into the kind of information that you want to find out more about. So Nicole, over to yourself. What is it that you want to cover today?
Thanks, Paul. So in our previous episode, we went really deep into what the genius pendulum is and what it represents. In your community, you mentioned that the genius drivers are the most efficient way to achieve equilibrium of the pendulum and therefore achieve our genius you. So what is genius you? Is it, our fullest potential? And you also mentioned the 4 elements of it. So how is that applicable to, us on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, cool. So you're right. The genius you is made up of 4 elements. What it represents is the authentic you, the true you, because a lot of people we mentioned imposter syndrome before, will not be living their true life. So your genius you is you. But if you think of the word genius and what it means, ultimately what you're doing is you are operating from your genius. Now, an extension of that is that, again, what we discussed on the last episode was the pendulum and the genius pendulum. So if you understand the genius pendulum, you'll understand that the genius you is connected to the superconscious. And that's where you have oneness with the superconscious. Now, how you achieve that, yes, there's 4 elements. So what are the 4 elements? Well, first of all, you've got your genius quest. Your genius quest is literally your mission that you are to fulfill in life. So every single individual, now I'm going to say something here on this particular podcast because there's a lot of information out there about finding your purpose, finding your passion, finding out what it is that you're to do in life. And a lot of the information that I see is completely wrong. So I go against a lot of things that are said. What I'm going to say to you is that every single individual has a unique purpose. Every single individual. It's completely unique to them. Can it be discovered and can be found out? It can absolutely be found out and discovered. It's what I do in the executive code community, and it's what I do with clients on a one-to-one basis. It's not from the perspective, because I want to answer this question because it came up a couple of days ago. A lot of people try and find a purpose by finding what it is you're passionate about. That's not what your purpose is. A lot of people say, well, if I write on a journal and I script and ask the question, what's my purpose in life? What am I to do? Is that how I'm actually going to find my purpose? No, you'll never find your purpose from that perspective. Never, ever, ever. So what I'm going to say to you is that these 4 elements are how you find your purpose. So is it completely different to what everybody else says there? I have yet to come across anybody else yet, talking about life purpose that doesn't bring these 4 elements together. So let me break it down for you. Your genius quest is what you are to do. That's your mission. That's what you are to do in this lifetime. Your genius inspiration is why you're to do it in the first place. That's where you're going to get your inspiration. It's where you're going to get your motivation from that side of things. People talk about find your why. Finding your why, how they do it is incorrect because they're trying to work it out from a conscious perspective. You'll never find your true why from a conscious perspective. And second of all, people try and apply their why to what it is that they're currently doing. And the vast majority of people that I'm working with aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not in line with their purpose. So therefore, trying to apply their why to what it is that they're currently doing, it's never going to be their true why. So your genius inspiration is your true why. That's your motivation. That's your burning desire inside of yours, why it is that you're doing, what it is that your purpose is. But you got to know your mission. You got to know what you're to do before you can understand your true why. The next part of it is your genius role. So in order for you to fulfill your mission, there's a role that you have, and it's a genius role, and the two of them go hand in hand. So what I mean by that is, what I've identified over all the years that I'm working with clients is that I've identified 10 different roles, 10 different genius roles. Now, an individual will play one of those roles in their life, and they'll play it throughout their whole life. They don't have to work at it. They don't have to develop any skills. They don't have to go into any school or university to try and develop it. They don't have to. Their genius role is innate for them. But the genius role goes hand in hand with the mission that they're to fulfill. It's best suited for the mission that they've to fulfill. Now, where the genius role also comes into play is, you may have heard the term, Nicole, from the perspective of self-sabotage. Because for every single genius role, there's 10 different genius roles. An individual will play one of those roles throughout their whole life, but a lot of them are unaware because it's all at an unconscious level. But when it's made conscious, now they actually realize, oh, okay, that makes total sense. But there's a shadow side to every single genius role. And there's a frustration point to every single genius role. When you're not aware of what your shadow side is, and you're not aware of your frustration point, that's what's going to kick in from a self-sabotage perspective. And then that's when things start to fall around behind you. And you get annoyance, you get frustrations, you get angry, you get anxious, all that kind of thing. But when you know your genius role, well, then that's what you operate from. The next element is your genius drivers. Your genius drivers, which we discussed on the previous episode, is literally where you're going to get your joy from, your passion, and your fulfillment from. It's literally, that's between all of those elements, that's what's going to get you jumping out of bed every single morning to fulfill. So those 4 elements is what makes up your purpose. That's what you are to do in life. So now you have your what, your how, your why, and what's going to bring you passion, joy, and fulfillment from. So that's all the 4 elements of your making up your purpose. It's all on an unconscious level. The way I work with my clients is I'm able to access that information, but I'm also able to bring them through a process, is a form of questioning, and drill down into those questions in order to find the evidence in their life in order to answer each one of those questions. An individual cannot do it on their own. They can't. And the reason being is they're trying to work it out from a conscious perspective. So then just journaling or asking or trying to ask their unconscious questions, they'll never get the answers. So what I do is I work with clients in order to get the answers to those 4 questions. And when you have those 4 elements, that's what your purpose is. In order to maintain equilibrium, what you want to work on is those 4 elements. When that becomes your mission, or what Napoleon Hill described as being your burning desire to fulfill, that's now you are, excuse the pun, but now you are on purpose. You're literally, you know what it is that you want to achieve, and you're working towards every single day to achieve what it is that you want to achieve, because you've now got such clarity in what it is that you want to achieve. You're like literally an individual on a mission to get to fulfill that particular purpose. And everything else becomes not meaningless, but it's not relevant to what it is that you want to achieve. Now, that is the best way of maintaining equilibrium. Are there other things that will throw you out of equilibrium? Yes, there is, because there's triggers, there's emotions, there's different things that show up in our daily life. But that's what I work with my clients on an ongoing basis in order to maintain equilibrium and be on purpose, be on mission to fulfill what it is that they want to achieve. That's
so genius. So genius inspiration, you said, is our why. And for the genius drivers, it's why we jump out of it. Those two seem awfully similar to me. Do you mind explaining a little bit more the difference?
Perfect. So your why is your motivation. It's why you're going to do what you're going to do, what your mission is, what your purpose is. Do you necessarily get joy, fulfillment, and passion from that? No, not necessarily. It gives you an inspiration, and that's the difference. It's the inspiration, hence the reason why I call it an inspiration. It gives you the inspiration to do what it is that you're to do. But inspiration alone isn't enough, because you want to. So a lot of people that I come across say, I just want to know what I'm going to be passionate about, what I'm actually going to really enjoy doing. And you would have seen this, from over, whether it be different books or online or different forums and all that, find your passion and turn your passion into your purpose. That's not your purpose. It's never your purpose. As you know, I love everything flight related. I've flown different aircraft. I love everything flight related. It has absolutely nothing whatsoever got to do with my purpose. So when you look at it from the perspective of your genius drivers is what is actually going to give you that fulfillment. Your passion follows your purpose. So what I mean by that is when you're actually working on your purpose, that's when your internal passion actually starts to grow, and it grows exponentially. It's the difference between you working through a whole day, and you could work for 12 hours a day or 14 hours a day, doing a job or doing your business. And at the end of those 12 or 14 hours, you're completely and utterly exhausted, mentally and physically. The difference when you're working with your genius drivers is you're finishing those 12 or 14 hours and you want to keep going. You literally just want to keep going because you're getting so much buzz from literally what it is that you're doing. And because now you know what your genius inspiration is and you know what your mission is, it all now works together. And when you're working and you're doing work in line with your genius role, now everything, not everything, but it becomes a lot more effortless, because now you're working with what your unconscious is. And as I said before, the more you work with your unconscious, the easier it is to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So you don't have to work at it. It's a lot of the work I do. I don't have to work at it. And it's one of the questions that I get asked by clients is that, you mean to say I can make a business out of doing this purpose? But there are things that I do naturally. There are things that I don't even think about. And I say, yeah, that's exactly what you're to do. That's what your purpose is. That's what you were designed to do. It's what you do naturally. You don't have to think about it. Now, are there things that you got to develop? Yes, you got to develop marketing skills and business skills, but that's where the business mastery comes into play. In the pilot lounge is when I'm bringing my clients through. But for you to do your purpose, no, you've everything that you need to deliver on your purpose. Everything.
So for you, flying, for example, would be a genius driver, whereas what you're doing with your clients, that's your why, right? Your purpose in life. So that would be your inspiration. Am I getting it right?
My why gives me the inspiration. It gives me that, for one better word, it gives me that long-term inner feeling of why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. It's seeing people reach the potential of what it is they are absolutely here to achieve. So when I work with a client and I can see what their purpose is, what their vision is, the impact they're going to make, the difference they're going to make on people, on the world, it is absolutely breathtaking and overwhelming. For me, it's around for them to get to fulfill what that purpose is. That's the inspiration. I get emotional when I think about it, because literally that's what I get to do every single day. So that's my inspiration to keep doing what I'm doing in order to put people on the right track of what it is they're to do. My genius drivers, it's flight. So one of my drivers is experiencing. So flight for me, yeah, if I do flying, it's an experience. So therefore, it's fulfilling one of my experiences. What I'm going to be doing in time with the people within the community is I will be bringing them on experiences. So therefore, that's how I'm merging one of my genius drivers with my community. But I will get experiences in the most smallest little things to the most largest things. So yes, I could be jumping out of a plane with a parachute, thank God, but I could be jumping out of a plane. That's an experience. I could be, like a couple of weeks back, I went away for a few days with my family, and every single morning I went and swam in the Atlantic Ocean. That's an experience. So it can be as simple as that, as much as skiing down a slope or whatever it may be. A lot of my experiences are adrenaline related, meaning they get my adrenaline going, because jumping out of a plane is not something you do every single day, or flying a helicopter or flying any particular aircraft, as you know, is not an easy task in some respects. So it's an experience. Let's put it that way. So, but that's where you get your joy, your passion, your fulfillment. It's where is it a French term, va-va-voom, or I don't know whether that's relevant or the right term or not, but it's your zest for life. That's part of what it gives you.
Awesome. So what are some of the 10 different roles that you mentioned for genius roles? Okay. You don't have to go through all of them individually, but just know.
So you got to become a client before you know what they are. But I go through them in the pilot's lounge. But if you give them my one's the advisor. So if you look at it, so let me break my one down. So my genius role is the advisor. It's what I've always done. Once I recognize that that's what I've always done. So a lot of people will come to me and say, and in the conversation that I have, so I would meet somebody and it could be a complete and utter stranger that I would have met from a very young age right through to what I do right now at the moment. And after a very, very quick point, after a very quick time, they would turn around to me and say, Paul, what I've just shared with you, I've never, ever shared with anybody in my whole life. So the level of trust that I build with clients is phenomenal. It's huge. I have so much information from clients. It's phenomenal. But the level of trust that I have and the confidentiality I have with clients is just huge. It's something I absolutely, I hold it to the highest level in my business because it's so important to me from that perspective. But if you were to look at everything that I do, if I was to break my business down, if you were to look at my week and look at what I do, I'm advising 90% of the time. So the podcast is advising. This video, you're coming on and you're asking questions, I'm advising. My blogs that I write is advising. The books that I've written is advising. When I'm having conversations, the coaching that I'm working with and the mentoring that I'm having with clients, that's advising. The mastermind meeting that I have within the community on a weekly basis, that's advising. The executive lounge advising. Every single thing that I do, 90% of it, not all of it, but 90% of the work that I do is advising. That's my highest priority. It's what I want to do. It's where I get the most fulfillment from. And that's one of my, literally, it's one of my genius drivers. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it seems like the role is the main role that you play in the community. Is that it? Is that what the types of roles are based on?
It's your role. No, because so there's 10 different roles. Each person will play a different role. So you've got to work. So once you know what your genius role is, well, now it's a case of, okay, so what's the career or the business that would be best suited to match that genius role? How I've done is I've molded or I've created my business around my genius role. That's what I've done. But when you know what your genius role, now it's for people that are kind of lost in their career or they're lost in their business and they kind of say, okay, so what is it I'm doing? And so I'll see this in a lot of executives whereby they're a manager in the business or they're a manager in corporate or the executive within the corporate, and they're fulfilling a role within that company, but it's not in line with their genius role. It's not in line with who they truly are, meaning their authentic role, their true self. They're trying to do another role that may not be best suited for what it is that their unconscious genius role is. And that's where they have to work much harder at it. It doesn't go as smoothly for them, and they get a lot of angst with trying to work with what it is that the role that they're trying to fulfill. But once you know your role, now you can develop your career or your business around that particular genius role.
And that's why you help, people you work with one-on-one and in the pilot lounge where you are. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Let me make the extension because it's a good question to ask in the sense of, so within the executive code community, think of it being, because I use a lot of flight analogies, as you know, all right? So think of the executive code community as being an airport. And everybody can come to the airport and it's completely for free. And people can join, be part of the airport itself. That airport is the executive code. And once you go into the actual airport itself, there's two different lounges. There's the executive lounge, and that's where we cover everything to do with personal mastery. And then there's the pilot's lounge. But in order to be able to enter into the pilot's lounge, you have to have your pilot's manual. In order for you to be able to fly, Nicole, you've got to have your pilot's manual. If you don't have it, if you don't know how to fly, you haven't become a pilot, you can't fly. So in order for you to fly in life, you've got to have your pilot's manual. So in order to gain access to the pilot's lounge, you have to have your pilot's manual. What's the pilot's manual? The pilot's manual is the 4 elements that we just spoke about, which is your purpose. So it's your genius inspiration, your genius inspiration, your genius quest, your genius role, and your genius drivers. That's what your pilot's manual is. Once you got that information, now you can gain access into the pilot's lounge. When you're in the pilot's lounge, now it's a case of how do we build your business, your career around what it is that your purpose is. So the executive lounge is about personal mastery. The pilot's lounge is about business mastery. And that's the distinction between the two of them. How do you get your pilot's manual? That's where you can either work with me on a one-to-one basis, or I will be doing group meetings or group workshops, for want of a better word, I can bring a group of people together in order to find out what their pilot's manual is. And now that's where they know what their true purpose is. And when you know what your true purpose is, now you're on a mission. Now you know what it is that you should fulfill in life. You've got the absolute clarity of what it is that you should do.
And then we also have the free community of the executive code, where everyone's helping each other. And
exactly, which is in effect, it's the airport. And therefore, I call it the Airfield Mastermind meeting. So the airfield is basically where all the aircraft come together. And within the executive code community, which again is the free part of the community, we come together on a weekly basis, and that's where we have the mastermind meeting. And that's where people can get a flavor for, who I am, what is it I'm talking about, do I make sense, do I answer the questions, all that kind of. So people come on all types of questions, whether it be personal mastery or business mastery, to help them on their journey. And that's how that works. It's how it can reach more and more people.
And it's great that the community is not on any social media platforms. So it's away from all the noise and distraction of the regular notifications. And I love the app. I downloaded it 2 days ago, and I realized that that's the easiest way to be able to have the community with me and take it everywhere on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a part. Like I've looked for quite a long time in order to find a platform that would work for everybody, and the amount of functionality and the things that we can do within the actual executive code community is huge. It's phenomenal. And as you said, the app is just that extra dimension of a benefit, whereby if you want to get that inspiration or that motivation or get answers, or you want to pose a question within the community itself and connect with other people that are within the community, the app is a great tool to do that. And as you said, Nicole, you're not getting bombarded with either Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever it might be. And when Facebook goes down, you can still get access into the community. So yeah, no, it's one of the best things I've probably built so far, and I'm really, really enjoying it because it's way I can connect with so many more people and help them on journeys. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And if anyone's looking for just a positive and inspiring place without any negativity, that's the perfect place. I've been looking through all the posts going through the past 4 months, because I think it's about 4 months old.
Yeah.
And everything has been there's a lot of engagement, but it's all healthy engagement. And people get to, disagree with each other in a very healthy manner and respectful. And so it's just a great community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Well, guys, look, if you want to find out more about the community, the links are in the show notes below. So come on over to our community. We absolutely would welcome you. If you want to find out, you're listening to this on your treadmill or as you're out on the run or in the car, just go to paulwilliamdavis.com and you'll be able to find the link to the actual community there. It's free to join, as we said. So come on over. You'll be very, very welcome. And we'll help you and support you on your journey. Find your purpose, live your purpose, and achieve personal mastery and business mastery. You'll be very, very welcome. But until next time, I wish you every success.